Hello, people. I'm Joe. Welcome back to the channel. You see this, right? Like, y'all see that glove just refused to come with me. It just jumped right out of my hand. All right. Here we are going home. I can't see. I don't have automatic dimming glasses like my mirror on my Audi. That'd be really cool. My glasses do dim, but it's only with UV lights, and none of these headlights produce enough UV light to activate that. Dang it, Jim, I'm a doctor, not a scientist. Or, dang it, Jim, I'm a doctor, not a physicist. I don't know that physics involved with what I'm talking about, but, you know, you get my reference there, right? So, it's great, because I've always been a fan of the Wars of Stars, Star Wars, and I've always been a fan of the Wars of the Stars. And what I mean by that is there are certain people in this world who are really big Star Trek fans. And sometimes, just sometimes, those people marry really big Star Wars fans. And you have what we affectionately call star versus star. And we take turns, you know, watching different stuff. I've watched several different series of Star Trek. I'd seen the movies before we ever met, but like we on a regular basis usually watch Voyager. We really got into Discovery. Strange New Worlds was really cool. Lower Decks was really funny, super funny. Boimler and Mariner. Yeah, Top Golf finally open. So that's cool. So we're just gonna be a little lost in the sauce today. Keep getting sidetracked and realize I'm filming, but I'm not talking. I'm like, hey, you should be talking. Why aren't you talking? So I do want to take the time to thank every customer that came in and said, hey, little bagger, how's it going? That was really cool. It really warms my heart to know that people, you know, especially people that I know. It's one thing if it's like somebody I've never met is really enjoying the channel, you know, and it inspires them to go ride or inspires them to do something, you know, whatever it may be. But it really feels some type of way when you've got, you know, people that you know and see on a semi-regular basis come in and like they acknowledge that they've watched your content. And one of them even was like, I can't wait for your next video, like I'm waiting for your next video to drop. I've got some cool things planned, I just got to make them happen. So one of the other really cool things that I learned today after they had a manager meeting was they want to start getting more involved in social media. And every Thursday we're going to film a video in the service department, right? So we can kind of showcase what we do and what we're all about and why you pay us money to do things. So I'm probably going to use that as an opportunity to make content for my channel as well. If you're a customer, you've been in and you've had a good experience, I'm very happy to hear about it. Please tell me, either on the channel, in person, online, on our website, on Google, with Harley Davidson, whatever you feel is appropriate. If you are a customer and you've had a bad experience with us, in the service department is where I can help you the most. Please, please, please reach out to me. So, yeah, had another customer asking about this wide tire kit, and I told them, hey, it makes a huge difference. If I haven't talked about it yet, I'll go ahead and do that right now. No, not right now. Right now. So this wide front tire kit, first of all, it was a pretty big common, and I don't think it is nowadays because so many people have done it, but it was a common misconception that you had to do like a rate kit or you had to do something ridiculous to get a wide tire on the front of a 14 and later touring bike, and you don't. It's actually very simple. You just really need 4 things, right? You need fork covers that have been clearanced, because that tire's gonna rub on your stock fork covers if you don't. You're actually not gonna be able to get it on at all. 2, you need a fender that is also clearance. 3, you need the wheel, obviously. That's a pretty big one. And 4, you need the tire. Again, pretty big one. But really boils down to 4 basic components and some know-how. If you want to do it yourself. If not, a shop should very easily be able to take care of that for you. But it's really just the 4 main components of a wide tire kit: is the tire, the fork, the fender, fork covers, the fender, and the wheel. And additionally, a wider contact patch is never a bad thing as far as grip, as far as road feedback through your front end. But the big thing that I want to talk about is sidewall and just overall general mass of a suspension, right? So your suspension reacts to what your wheel is doing. Well, if your tire is bigger and can absorb some of the impact before it passes it along to your suspension and then through the bike, that's going to be better, right? It's always going to be an improvement. So having a wider tire and a little bit thicker sidewall gets you that. It gets you another component that can absorb impact and decrease the load on your suspension. Now you can see my suspension still moves when I hit bumps, but it relieves it a little. But the biggest thing that I tell people is this bike doesn't have a tendency to oversteer or over lean, I guess would be a better term for it. When you point a bike into a corner and you kind of lean into it, I felt like with the stock Road King, even with a stock tire, your 130 16-inch rim with a 130 millimeter wide tire, it had a tendency to go further past than what I was aiming for as far as lean angle into a corner, or even in just a slight turn. And then when I upgraded to an Enforcer style wheel that was a 130 on a 19-inch rim or wheel, in my mind, it's even worse, because again, that front wheel doesn't have enough reciprocating weight that it can kind of keep that front end planted where you point it as far as the lean angle. So this wider front tire, again, these are my opinions, that wide front tire does not go where you don't want it to go. I feel like the input that I have is the same, it's just a lot less thought to it. I have to think about where I wanted to put it as far as into a corner. I had to, and now I don't, because it doesn't outthink me, or doesn't try to outthink me. It just does what I tell it to do. So it does require some effort to throw a bike into a corner, even stock, and this bike's no different. It does require some effort. I'm not going to say that this bike leans by itself. It didn't lean by itself before, but now when I lean, however much effort I put in, that's how much I get out of the bike. And and I love that. I really do. Now, all of that aside, I will tell you that the 100% single reason that I did this upgrade was for the looks. I did not expect it to have the functional benefits that it does, but it did, and I'm happy about that. But I did it because it looks great. So wide front tire just has that presence to me, So there's benefits. Cars use the same width front and rear. You hardly ever find a car that has different width on the front and the rear. So there's definitely benefits to it. But I love the wide front tire kit that I put on. There's my opinion on that subject matter. If you do decide to do it and you've got questions, it is really straightforward. I promise. The hardest part is the fact that you're in my setup. I couldn't get the tire on until after I put the fender in, but I couldn't put the hardware for the fender on until after I got the tire up, because the hardware for my fender sticks out, or in I should say, towards the wheel enough that the wheel won't clear it going into the front end. Additionally, here's what I do different. Actually I wouldn't do it different, but I would definitely not recommend doing this. If I ride through anything, that whole oil cooler on my front end does not have any protection on it at all right now, and that front fender does not keep anything off of that front oil cooler or voltage regulator. The stock front fender does a really good job of keeping debris off of the front end of the motor. That front fender that I have on my motorcycle does not. It is strictly for show. It does not offer any kind of road debris protection. So if that's a big deal to you, if you do find yourself riding in the rain, or you just don't like grime and debris being all over the front end of your bike, like your oil cooler and your voltage regulator and whatever else you may have down there, like a chin spoiler. I see a lot of guys do 21 by 5.5, and they've got a really cool custom braked out chin spoiler. It's not going to offer any protection at all. It looks great. It is super small, so it was nothing to get it painted. Took a day. If you did all of that and you ended up doing that front fender based on my recommendation, I would be pretty upset if you came and told me, Joe, I did what you did and I don't like it because the front fender is too short and I didn't realize that. I would be really upset with myself for not saying, man, I told you that. So here I am telling you that now. Man, it smells like a wildfire. I'm sorry. So I can't confirm fitment or even confirm, that people make stuff to do it on other models. I can just tell you, hey, I've done it on a 19 Road King. I've seen the same setup on everything from a 14 Road King all the way up to a 23 Road King. I've seen it on Street Glides, Road Glides, Limiteds. I've seen it all. There was a song that just popped in my head. I can't remember what it was. I've seen it all. Yeah. Anyways, so cautious. Do your research. Do your homework. If you don't have a Rushmore or later touring bike, you may want to look into it a little bit more. This wheel, if I've not said it before, is from SMT. They're out of Arizona, which I love because I'm out of Arizona and I love supporting Arizona companies. Huge fan of Dixon. Shout out to Dixon. If you want to send me a free Dixon, I'm not going to say no. The wheels out of Scottsdale, Arizona. I think Scottsdale or Glendale. They're out of Arizona. I know that for sure. The fenders Arlen Ness. The fork covers are Arlen Ness. The labor is by Joe. That labor is exclusive, one-off custom labor. Can't get that nowhere else because I don't work on customer bikes. So, yeah. But yeah, let me know if you've got questions on the wide front tire kit. I didn't realize that would be the focus of this video, but the customer that came in was just like really excited to learn about it. He was really excited to see it. He didn't realize that was my bike that he was looking at earlier before we started talking about the wide front tire kit. And then he like asked about it, and I was like talking about how I made a poor life decision riding to work this morning because it was like 30, like it wasn't even 30 degrees, it was 28 degrees. And he's like, yeah, I don't want to ride it home tomorrow when I pick the bike up. And I'm like, oh, I rode in today. And he's like, is this yours? I was like, yeah, that's mine. And he's like, oh, really? You did that wide front tire? What's that like? And I'm like, oh, yeah, here we go. That's why I do what I do, man. I try to inspire others to get creative and you know, to do stuff to their bike. If they're excited, like, oh, I've always been wanting to try that, or I've always wanted to do something to my front end, and now that I've seen the wide front tire, I know I don't like it. And so here we are, you know, because he's got a 21-inch front wheel on his bike right now. And so he said, man, I like the way it looks, it's just not for me. And I'm like, great, at least you've seen it in person, you know that for sure now, right? And even if that's what comes of the conversations regarding what I've done to my bike, then that's fine too. I don't mind it either way, but it sparks the conversation. I love talking to people, and if my bike can help me do that, I'm down. You know, we started talking about suspension. The Öhlins are great in the rear. Waiting for Harley Davidson, hashtag Harley Davidson, hashtag HC, hashtag listen to me. We need some Öhlins front suspension for a touring model. I think it's great that you did it for the Softails. I know that you did the rear touring shocks first, and then you came out with the Softail rear touring shock, or Softail Öhlins shock for the rear, and then also the front. And I kind of got a little offended that you didn't come out with like cartridges for the front of a touring bike, but you know, whatever. Do it now, do it right now. Go back to the Öhlins team and say, hey, we have borrowed some of your suspension and put our name on it, and go sell it. People eat that stuff up, man. I'm telling you, we get calls about it all the time. Hey, do you know if I know Harley offers the Öhlins for the rear? Do you know if they offer for the front? We go, no, not right now, but maybe, because when the Öhlins shocks first came out for the touring bikes, we're like, oh cool, but I just traded in my touring bike for Heritage. Did they make it for the Softails? And we're like, no, not right now. And now we can say, actually, sir, they do. And one of my really good friends who has probably one of the fastest Softails in the state, he asked me about it the other day. He's like, man, I saw this Öhlins shock for this Sport Glide. What do you think? Like, what do you think of this? And I said, man, I don't know, because I've never tried it on a Softail, but I can tell you the Öhlins on my Road King are phenomenal. I would definitely recommend it. I think that you would benefit from it, because you expect more out of your bike than the next guy, and stock suspension's probably not jiving with you. Probably didn't use the word jiving. I can't remember. I have to go back through my text, but I told him. I don't know if he did it yet or not. I imagine I'd know if he did, because I work at the place he would order them. But you know, that sparked from, like, I showed him that I know my stuff, and he decided that I was going to be the first person he asked about that. And so here we are, you know, where when he's got questions about a Harley product, he comes to see me. Boy, oh no, that guy's getting pulled over. CPD out here keeping these streets safe. So I used to know somebody, I still know somebody who used to work for CPD, and I got to know a couple of officers down there, and really, really great guys, really cool people. Got to meet the chief of police, 2 different chief of police, and look, Corvette, look at that guy, that's a cool car. And I really enjoyed hanging out with those people. I went to several different Christmas parties, and that was really fun, man. I'll tell you what, those guys are a trip. But shout out to first responders for, you know, keeping us taken care of in multiple different levels, reactive, proactive, attractive, whatever it may be. Shout out to them for doing all that stuff. Shout out to Chick-fil-A. Shout out to this lane being completely open. That's crazy. Oh gosh. Oh no. The light's gonna turn green here in just a minute. So almost there. I don't normally take this route. I do enjoy it though, because it gives the bike a chance to calm down without like completely shutting down. I think a lot of people don't realize that that's a good, healthy thing for any motor. If you're doing 75 or over for a sustained period of time, and then you like you live like 0.1 miles away from where you get off the highway, that motor doesn't really have time to like catch up and like run at a lower speed, you know. So maybe I'm crazy, tell me what y'all think, but I like going this way sometimes, because it allows the bike to like operate at a lower RPM instead of just like screaming at like 3,200 RPM for 40 minutes straight. It like allows it to stop but not turn off. And I guess it's just from owning like a diesel. Like, you didn't ever shut your truck off immediately, otherwise your turbo could seize. And again, I don't know that for sure. I guess that's something somebody told me. I believed it. Now it's just something ingrained in me, right or wrong. But like, I think it applies to anything. Like, if you don't give something enough time to like properly, you know, not necessarily cool all the way down, but like get to a better temperature before like not operating at all, I think that there's some risks, whether they're, you know, negligible or not. There's risks nonetheless. And if I can, you know, keep my oil pump going while my motor's like getting, I want to say like 280 ish, and it can get like down like my temperature probably right now if I were to check. Let's see here. We're gonna check 228 according to my gauge. I don't know how accurate that is, guys. I think that comes from the engine temperature sensors. So 228, right? The operating temperature, I think allowable range for this thing is upwards of like 280. Right? So if I had just gotten off the highway and immediately came home and it was like 0.2 miles, you know, that bike may get down to like, let's say I'm at 280, it may get down to like 260, and then I shut it off and I don't let the oil continue to circulate and draw heat out of the motor. Then, you know, there could be some risks. There could not be. I don't really know, I guess. Damn it, Jim. I'm a doctor, not a physicist. I said it twice in the same episode, and I think certain someone will be a little bit happy about that. Maybe not. So, alright guys, I guess if you want, I can go ahead and, yeah, I don't think y'all have seen in my shed, and you're not going to. Okay, bye.